Welcome, I'm Thomas Groendijk and I'm a BizTalk developer from the Netherlands. In this video I'm going to show you how you can send messages to a REST service with the new WCF-WebHttp adapter. Also I'm going to show you how you dynamically can set the URI of the REST service. Normally you use promoted properties for this in BizTalk, but there are some scenarios where you cannot use them. And in this video I'm going to show you another way to do this. So let's open SOAP UI, where I'm going to show you a more complex scenario. So here I'm going to update an event for a specific customer, and I'm going to send a data message to the REST service. Also, I have to specify the ID for the customer. So if you want to use property promotion to dynamically set the URI, you need to have the customer ID field in your message. But now, in the data message, I don't have a customer ID that I can promote to set the URI. So in this specific case, I cannot use promoted properties. So how can you solve this in BizTalk? Let's have a look at the BizTalk project in Visual Studio that I have created. In this sample, I'm going to receive a customer event message, and in the customer event message I have a customer ID. But the REST service expects a data message, so I need to map the customer event message to the data message. So I also created a map. So here I'm going to map from the customer event to a data message. But I also need the customer ID field, because I have to dynamically set the URI of the REST service with the customer ID field. So for this I'm going to use context properties. So context properties are properties like like the port, or like the receive port, or the file name, but you can also create your own custom context properties. So for this you need a property schema. So I already created the property schema, and let's have a closer look at the properties. So when I click on the properties, you have the property scheme base property, and here you can define if your property is a message context property, so this property we're going to use, but default it's a message data property. A message data property you use for to promote a field in a message. So in this case I'm going to use a promoted property, or sorry, a context property, and I also have to set the context property, and for that I created an orchestration. So let's have a look at the orchestration. So first let me close this, and in the orchestration I'm going to receive a customer event message, and the customer event message I'm going to map to a data message, and also I'm going to set the context property. And to do that I use the customer ID field in the customer event message. Then I'm going to call the web service, the REST service. I'm going to send the message to the REST service. I'm going to receive the response. And for the demo that I've created, I'm going to I'm going to trace the output of the result message. But first, let's have a look at the send port that I've created in the BizTalk administration console. So the orchestration is attached to the update send port. So let's have a look at the properties. So you have to specify the WCF-WebHttp adapter. So when you click on configure, you have the transport properties. First, you have to specify the static part of the REST service, and in the URL mapping you specify the dynamic part, and within the curly brackets you specify variables, and the variable you have to map to a context property or to a promoted property. Well, in this case we're using context properties. So in the variable mapping, when you click on edit, you specify the context property. So I've created the ID context property, and this is the namespace of the context scheme. So, well, this is the part in the administration console. So let's have a look at the demo that I've created. So in the demo I'm going to receive a customer event message. So let's have a look at the customer event message. So the customer ID, I'm going to need to set the URI of the REST service. The customer event message is going to be mapped in the orchestration, or is received in BizTalk. It's going to be mapped in the orchestration. The web service is called, and the response of the web service is shown with trace output. So I'm going to use debug view to see the trace output. Well, first let me clear that. First I have to start the web service. So it's a console application. So now I've started the REST service. Well, I have to put the customer event message in the receive folder of BizTalk. So now I'm going to have a look at the trace output. Here I received the message, so this is the trace output from the orchestration, and here I see the result message of the web service. Well, this wraps it up. In this video I showed you that in some scenarios, for example where you want to update some data, you cannot use promoted properties, and in such cases context properties are a really good alternative. Well, that's it, and thank you.